This morning at 10 a.m., the air raid sirens throughout Israel went off. Not because, God forbid, there was an attack on Israel, but while the air raid sirens were going off for 2 minutes, the entire country stood at attention, doing something very, very strange, commemorating an event that never happened in Israel. I know of no other example in the world where a nation state commemorates or celebrates an event that happened somewhere else. For me, there is no greater expression of Israel being a Jewish state than the way in which it expresses Yom HaShoah as a part of the national holiday system in Israel. Not because it happened in this country, not because it happened to Israelis, but because on this day we commemorate the loss of 1/3 of the Jewish people. To me, that identification, that commemoration, is a proud acclamation of Israel being a Jewish state, and we'll talk about that word a little bit later. But you know that in our calendars, we Jews have a habit not of concentrating on single days, but on concentrating on periods. You have the 3 weeks which tie Shiva Sabbath Tammuz to the 9th of Av. You have Rosh Hashanah tied to Yom Kippur by the 10 days of awe. You have Pesach tied to Shavuot by the period of Sirat HaOmer that we are now in. In the same way, we can talk about Israel and Yom HaAtzmaut. You have to begin the discussion on Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's Independence Day, on this day that I just described and that we are commemorating today on Yom HaShoah. Because the sirens that went off today are going to go off next week, in 8 days, as a matter of fact. The sirens are going to go off again, and this time, the entire country is going to stand twice, once in the evening and once in the morning, at attention, remembering those who gave their life for the state of Israel, for the defense of the state of Israel. It's a very different kind of sadness than you feel on Yom HaShoah. You can ask kids in the streets, how many people are we commemorating, how many people's deaths are we commemorating on Yom HaShoah? And you'll automatically get the number 6 million. But you ask young people today, can you name one? Did you know one? Did you know of any? It's very, very unlikely that they'll be able to do so. But on Yom HaZikaron, it's a much deeper sense of personal loss. Because you can go to any kid and ask them how many people's deaths are we commemorating on this day, and they won't have an answer for you. Because it's a number that hasn't stopped and was different yesterday than it is today. You ask them if they knew of anyone, and you won't find anybody who will not know a cousin, a neighbor, an uncle, a brother, a parent, or God forbid, a child who lost their life, who gave their lives in defense of this country. It's a day of real sadness. You know that the buses going to cemeteries around Israel are free. You don't pay. They're a service of it's a public service offered to people to go up to the military graves. It's a deep sadness. You feel it in the air. I mean, Israeli drivers don't honk their horns on Yom HaZikaron. We have no Memorial Day sales in this country. It's a true day of mourning. But something very strange happens. Just because the clock moves to 8 p.m. on Yom HaZikaron, all of a sudden, people are dancing in the streets, banging each other on the head with plastic hammers, rejoicing with a joy that is hard to describe. It's almost schizophrenic what's expected of us to move from a day of deep mourning, of deep sadness, to a day of real joy. There were many who suggested that we separate Yom HaAtzmaut from Yom HaZikaron because it is so difficult to make that move. And it was David Ben-Gurion who gave the answer and insisted that they be one day after the other, saying that when you put Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut together, and you're able at 8 p.m. to move from sadness into dancing, it's a sign that you value what you received for the price that you paid. And what is it, he said, that we received on that day? We received the promise that that which we commemorated a week ago on Yom HaShoah will never happen again. In my own lifetime, when I was a kid, the noun that went along with the adjective Jewish more than any other noun, and this was before the creation of the State of Israel, was the noun refugee. We, the Jewish people, were a family of refugees. Today, there is no such animal as a Jewish refugee, for the simple reason that the State of Israel exists.